Hi there, I'm Java Jim with First Line Equipment, and today in front of us we have some reNEWed machines. And what do I mean by reNEWed? Here at First Line we decided to upgrade VBMs, dual boiler espresso machines. And the way these machines were designed was with basically pump pressure profiling. And what does that mean? Back in 2019, 2020 we were talking to them, and they had pump pressure profiling where you could save profiles and change the pump pressure within those profiles. And I believe at the time there was 7 of them. The problem is when you changed it and recorded it, if you were in the middle of a shot and say the grind was too coarse or too fine and the shot wasn't coming out the way you liked it, you couldn't change the profile midstream while you're extracting the shot. So we worked with VBM even further, and they developed a way you could save 9 profiles, but also on the displays here you can have manual profiling where you could change the pressure of the pump on the fly, say from 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10. Of course you can't do it to 8.1, 8.2, 8.3 for the simple reason is you'd be pressing that button many times, and if you want to get from 7 to 8, that's 10 pushes. So it became a little difficult, and from a user perspective we thought. So what we also added to the machines was the flow control device, or the brew pressure profiling, which happens at the group head. So we have renamed and reNEWed this machine called the Dual Profiler. We've also asked VBM to send future shipments with the profiling flow control or brew pressure profiling flow control device on top of the group head. So we sourced these from a different source, but hopefully they're going to come through in the future for this dual profiling type of machine. And let's backtrack a little bit. This flow control device on top of an E61 group head, I gave that idea to another company back in December of 2015. It took up until March of 2018 to get it developed and tested and perfected. And then from there we had other copycats. So you are seeing here first, dated on this video, where we have dual profiling, or a dual profiler espresso machine. And I want to say that because there'll be copycats coming out pretty soon. Copycats are galore in every industry. They are definitely in our industry. Now, what is the benefit of the dual profiling? So the benefit is the machines that just have the flow control, you kind of have to mimic it all the time. And if you have other users in a house, they want to produce the same espresso, there's really no way to record it unless you get to a much higher priced machine. So this becomes more affordable in that regard, where you can play with the flow control and you can also play with the pump pressure profiling, with the manual push profiling, or the saved. Now say you have a profile that's saved in one of those saved program settings, and the grind is a little bit too coarse. What the flow control device does is, say it's set at 9 bar or 10 bar, and you need to bring it down because the water's flowing a little too much, you can use the flow control device to minimize and lower the pressure. If the pump is set at 9, you will not be able to increase over 9, but this allows you to quickly bring down the pressure, and this typically can happen near the end of the extraction. So if you see this, if you're doing your ratios of say 2 to 1, 1 to 2, whatever your ratios are, and I know people say, what are you getting there at there? The ratios can be at almost all over the place. But there's people who have the set standards and there's people who go all over the place. Regardless, this will allow you to save the shot while you're using the programming of the machine. So I don't know of any machine out there that can do this. If there are, great, but at the VBMA price points, it becomes a very affordable model with this. And it's the first machine that I know of that can have pump pressure at 14 bar. The OPV opens at 14. I've talked to some industry experts and they're like, why do you want to make espresso at 14? I said, well, have you tried it yet? They said no. I said, well, if you haven't tried it, you can't make a comment. There may be some coffees, some blends that prefer the higher pressure. Just like back in 2018 when I had some industry experts scratching their head and saying, oh, this is a gimmick. And then all of a sudden now everybody's copying. So we'll see where this is going to go with the 14 bar pressure. And again, if you want to program it for 10 bar and just use the flow control device, you can do that. Now, there are two models for the dual boilers for VBM. And they're pretty much the same, except the Super Digital has the lever here that opens the valve in the group head and also hits the switch to turn on the pump. So this one you have to start the espresso extraction and then bring it down to stop. You can do the mid-range where you're opening the valve and not turning on the pump and do your pre-infusion. That usually works very well when it's plumbed in because you're using waterline pressure. The other version is the Electronica, and you'll see there's no lever on the side here. And the reason is you could program how much water will be pumped through the extraction. Just need to remember that your programming time for the pump for the extraction is 30 seconds, that your profile is 30 seconds, and not that your pump stops at 30 seconds and you have the profile going to 40. So you do need to remember that the time that the pump goes on to the time that you have programmed for the profiling is the same. So just remember that. And if you see here, you'll see some white plastic above or a film over the panels. That's what happens on a new machine in most cases. That can come off and these panels can be removed. So if you do see the white here, this is pretty much the introduction to the reNEWed VBM dual boiler espresso machines, Super Digital and Electronica with dual profiling. If you have any questions or comments, please ask down below. Please visit our website. I prefer you ask the questions there. There's a Q&A section. Follow us on the many social media channels that we have. You saw it here first, dual profiler. Thank you for watching. Coffee first, everything else second. Have a great day.